You know what the hardest job is? I think you all know it in your heart of hearts. That's right. It's being a member of the Democratic Party. This is a Substack article. Sorry about that one. Let's take a look at the title together. Media coverage of Kilmar Abrego Garcia hurt Trump, not Democrats. I've got bad news for you guys. Remember how, for a while, Trump's approval rating was dipping rapidly, particularly with regard to his handling of immigration, deportations, the border, that sort of thing? Lately, those ratings have been going up. You know the reason why, and this Substack article provides a handy chart. This is along a normalized y-axis, so we're dealing with a relative range here. But the yellow line is Trump's approval and how he handles immigration. And the blue line, media attention to Kilmar Abrego Garcia's case. We got the peak right here. We all covered it, but after that, media stopped caring. So why is it that I have to hear Republican politicians, officials, bureaucrats, and pundits remind me over and over and over again how Riley Gaines is a bad swimmer who came in 5th place, even though that happened years ago, but Democrat-aligned media and the Democrats just dead silent? There is a difference in the kind of job that I do to promote my political positions and what they do, okay? I have a more niche audience. I'm a YouTuber, right? If people are watching me regularly enough that they actually, like, to some extent trust me or like what I provide in terms of the information, you know, I trust that you guys aren't going to spring back to supporting Trump's positions on immigration just because I don't cover them for a few days. But the average American is really stupid. So if you're running a 24-hour news cycle, day in and day out, all the time, and you stop talking about things like Abrego Garcia, what happens? This is, by the way, exactly what happened with Black Lives Matter. Remember, after George Floyd was murdered, a significant number of people, even Republicans, were sympathetic to Black Lives Matter. In fact, can I find that chart? Hold on. Wait. American support Black Lives Matter over time chart. Come on, Google. Guess what happened right here at the peak? 67 to 31. More than 2/3 of Americans supported the Black Lives Matter protests. And this was when they were active, too. Immediately after, because of course Black Lives Matter existed like well before the murder of George Floyd. It went back, you know, into Obama's administration, but it really gained prominence after the murder of George Floyd for obvious reasons. More than 2/3 of Americans supported it. Why? Because everyone just saw, essentially live on TV, the totally unjustified murder of a black guy. Kind of affirms their position. And what happened after that? Republicans never relented. They were on the fence for a little while, but sure enough, shortly thereafter, like within a few months, they were back on their shit. Now, I bet you, if this line continued to today, because the most recent update on this particular chart, this one is up to April 23, you know, I guarantee you, more people would disapprove of BLM than approve it. Same thing happened to January 6th. The Republicans never shut the up about it. They never did. And in the absence of those talking points, those counterpoints from the Democrats, what do you expect is going to happen? This is going to keep happening again and again and again and again and again. And this is one of the reasons why I've been so pessimistic about like a Democratic comeback or something. Because it's not just them, it's the entire media environment. How the explain to me, how the does this happen? Again, I don't want to come across like I'm being like I've got double standards here, okay? I haven't talked about Kilmar Abrego Garcia recently. The reason for that is because my assumption is that if you're watching my content, you already think Trump is Hitler. That I think that's a fair assumption. I have a pretty partisan channel. My positions on this are reaffirmed not just through how I talk about Abrego Garcia, but about like the Trump administration as a whole. But if you're MSNBC or CNN or ABC or NBC or whatever the fuck else, right? That's not how the game works. You can't assume that everyone's going to hold the same position indefinitely. Look at this. Because they stopped talking about him. And by the way, you know he's still in detention without trial, even though he was protected by a court order, right? They moved him from Seaside or Seacot or whatever it is. I forget how it's pronounced. To another facility. He's still down there. Here's another chart. The light green line right here, Google search queries for Abrego Garcia. And you can see right here, during the peak of people's interest, sufficient interest to, look up his name, Trump's approval on immigration stayed low. But after that, boom, and it goes right back up. We really, really need, this is a pretty damning graph. I just don't think Democrats understand what it means to really create a consensus, to create a narrative, to sustain a narrative, to run with it forever. If a talking point is good, you should never shut up about it. Because politics, when it comes to being popular and winning elections, it's not about being right. Being right is a side bonus. That's like an extra, that's like a flourish, that's the frosting on top, okay? Being right's fun, but when it comes to winning, it's secondary to other things like consistency, narrativization, emotive value. Now, I think the Democrats are wrong on a lot of things. You know how I feel about them broadly, on Gaza, whatever. But on the immigration line, this is an easy sell. But from their perspective, I think on their side, they say something that's correct, and they're like, oh, well, we said that. Goodbye. We made our argument. What else do you want us to do? This is like what you said about how people were more pro-immigration when the Dems were hammering it home versus when they just gave up talking about it. Yeah. God, that pisses me off so much. But this is the best chart I've ever seen demonstrating it. Because before, I would look at those broader charts that took place over the course of years, and I would say, like, well, this is probably why it happened. This is my interpretation. This is pretty irrefutable, right? Like, there's a pretty big difference in terms of, like, direct correlative strength, or causative. I feel like it's causative, of course, but the correlation is what you demonstrate here. Between this, on a day-by-day basis, a direct relationship between this, the polling data and how much they're mentioning this guy's name. But yeah, let me bring it up, since I haven't made that point often enough. Pew Research, America, position on immigration. What was the specific question? Whether immigration should be increased? Chart, Americans believe immigration increased or decreased over time chart. Only 50 typos in that. Let's see if it works. Oh, I think we got it. It was Gallup. It was Gallup, not Pew Research. You want to see this shit, by the way? Look at that. Sickening. Sickening. Look at this. Look at this. For 25 years, the number of Americans who believed the number of immigrants more immigrants should be coming to the country was increasing. And then when Biden took over, that was when it went down. That was it, right there. You can literally see it right here. The high point, May 2020. The next time it gets logged, down, June 2021. And it's entirely because the Democrats thought it was fashionable to protest against Trump's brutality towards immigrants when Trump was in charge. And then when Biden got in charge, he changed basically nothing. Jesus Christ, look at this. I bet you most people would think the real turning point in this chart would have been 2016, because that's when Trump came into office. But it wasn't. From when Trump came into office to when he left for his first term, things went more in our favor. More people wanted more immigrants and fewer people wanted less immigrants. It was Biden. Biden was the turnaround. I barely even hear anyone talking about Roe v. Wade. So is it not a big deal anymore? No! In 20 states of the union, there are varying levels of draconian anti-abortion law. There are women, I think I literally saw a story this morning about a girl who's 10 being forced to bring her child to term. All that's still happening. People are still dying. You still have horrific stories about people being forced to carry rape babies, state persecution. No one talks about it. A Republican can't stub their toe without it being a Fox News talking point for 6 months, but the Republicans keep brutalizing this country, and none of it, it's all ephemeral. None of it lasts. The government still has my passport. Jesus, Julia Mines, I'm sorry. Yeah, the brain-dead woman in Georgia being forced to carry that child to term. Insane shit. That child is 9 and in Louisiana. 9 years old. Moore said in the area of Louisiana she represents, she is aware of a 9-year-old who is pregnant. I'm struggling because life and death, according to our Heavenly Father, it's in his hands. I'm like, God, are you wanting this child to have a baby? What good can come out of this? 5 decades later, rape survivors in Louisiana who become pregnant find themselves in a similar situation to Boyd's mother, forced to carry the baby to term in a state that is one of the country's highest maternal mortality rates, or to travel to another state where abortion is still legal. Currently, of the 12 states enforcing abortion bans at all stages of pregnancy, 4 have exceptions in case of rape. So 8 don't. That's 8 states that have total abortion bans, no exceptions. A study released by the Journal of the American Medical Association found that between July 2022 and January 2024, there were more than 64,000 pregnancies resulting from rape in states where abortion has been banned in all or most cases. Anyway, it's remarkable that Republicans keep giving Democrats this kind of ammunition to work with.